Everyone sets the scope for a project according to the time they have to complete it. If you have a week, you can get quite a few stuff done if you're willing to make compromises. If you only have 48 hours, say goodbye to your sleep schedule. But what if you have an entire month? What can you do with a whole 720 hours? And yeah, I know this video is in very heavy contrast in tone and subject from my previous video. I am not spending 5 months on a video like that again. Anyway, I participated in the Boss Rush Jam 2025. If you don't know, a game jam is essentially a quote-unquote competition where anyone who joins is tasked with making an entire game in a set amount of time based on a theme. The twist here is that you have to make your game a, well, boss rush. Instead of just making a normal game, you're making boss fights. On January 2nd, the theme was revealed, with it being...
Still, we're super excited to be blown away by the games you make for this year's newly chosen theme, Spin!
Oh my god, I am going to cook so hard on this. Now we need to come up with what I'm actually going to do for this jam. It lasts an entire month anyway, so we have time. The first thing I thought of was...
If you're having trouble with brainstorming, ask yourself, what spins?
You know what? So I'm making a game about a record player. I've actually been wanting to get into vinyl. In fact, I just got a record player for Christmas last year, which I'm super happy about. I feel like a game like this would be perfect for me. You guys want to see my vinyl collection? The idea I decided to go for was that you're stationary behind a desk and you're able to attack the boss by throwing one of your records like a frisbee at them. You also have 2 health bars, one for you and the other for your record. The only times your record gets damaged is if you duck and the boss attacks you. You guys want to see my vinyl collection? But what about the bosses themselves? Thanks to the help of the Jam's Discord server, I have 3 bosses I want to make. The Audiophile, Warning Sisters LLC, and, Sailor Whiffed. Once I spent the whole day brainstorming what I wanted to make, I was finally able to create the Unreal Engine project and get to work. For the entire day after, I just focused on the main things the player's actually gonna be doing. Attacking, blocking, and crouching. Honestly, this shouldn't take too long since the player is gonna be stationary anyway, so... Alright, that's not supposed to happen. That isn't supposed to happen either. After a few hours, I finally have some decent looking attacking and crouching. Then, I decided to work on some template for each boss I was gonna be working on. I wanted each boss to have 3 attacks and some health system. So can you guess what I did next? That's right! I procrastinated for the next 5 days and... Okay, I did actually get to work on the boss system. Essentially, after a few second delay, the boss is able to attack and randomly picks between which one it should do next. Next up was some basic HUD I wanted to add with 3 health bars. After watching the same UI tutorial for the millionth time, we have UI now. This is just a template I want to use for now since I'm planning on making new and different designs for it based on each boss. I also spent some time on a scoring system. Time to bore you with how it works. Essentially, you get a different amount of points depending on how powerful your attack is. However, your score gets reduced when you or your record player gets hit. You can also earn extra points for attacking the boss if you bounce the record you threw off of a wall. And finally, you also earn extra points every time you attack to the beat of the song playing. That last one took like forever to do. I originally went with some scuffed system that found the seconds per beat, then used a bunch of delay nodes that count to the beat of the song that's playing. However, there was a tiny problem. The program would eventually get out of sync with the song. After slamming my head on my desk for the next day, I eventually found out about Quartz, which is a system built into Unreal Engine that can perfectly calculate beats and measures. This was perfect for what I needed and solved all of my problems in life. I am still unemployed. I then entirely redesigned the UI with sprites, animations, and everything. I even made it where the tone arm actually moves on the spinning record according to the duration of the song playing. You guys want to see my vinyl collection? Next, I wanted to make the models and animations for the player. Literally, all it is just a record for what you're going to be attacking with and an album cover as your shield. As for the art style, I wanted to go for this blocky and low poly looking art style. like pretty much everything except the vinyl record itself is just made of cubes. Later on, I spent a few hours making some environment to surround the player and fight the bosses in. I wanted this to be some vintagey looking mansion to sort of complement how this whole game's about vinyl and physical media for music. You guys want to see my vinyl? After that, I added some particle systems, sound effects, and we're already 2 weeks into the jam. I still have yet to get started on the entire point of this jam, which is the fact that this is a boss rush and there are supposed to be boss fights. Yeah, sure, I have a basic template down, but I still need to figure out what the bosses will even look like to begin with, on top of coding in every single attack. I could just cut one of the bosses from the game for the sake of the jam, but even if I want to submit this game to begin with, I am going to have to lock the hell in. Everyone sets the scope for a project according to the time they have to complete it. I only had time to finish up a single boss out of the 3 I wanted, and I still ended up submitting past 3 in the morning around 12 hours before the deadline. I don't think I considered stuff like sleep, school, and even motivation when brainstorming my game and its scope. There were several days where I wouldn't work on the game at all purely because I just didn't feel like it. All I had in my head to justify that was, we have an entire month, we have time. That time had to run out eventually, and that time was now, February 2nd. My game, Keep It Spinning, got a total of 25 ratings and placed out of around 860 submissions. A lot of the feedback I got was relatively positive, with most people complimenting the art direction. The only actual bits of criticism I got was that the boss was pretty hard to beat, and I mean, it's a boss fight, that's kind of the point, and that the audio was pretty loud, in which, I don't know what you guys are talking about, the audio is fine. Someone also suggested that I add power-ups in the environment that the player can throw the records at, in which, that's a sick idea, I'll think about that. For the week after the deadline, everyone who participated got to play and vote on each other's games. I only managed to rate around 35 games. If I had more time, I would have rated more, but here are some of my favorites out of the one I did rate. Spin with 2 Ys has you spinning around a record attacking the cover art. The whole game is super well thought out, not to mention the art style. I love how abstract and colorful the entire thing is, with the record you're spinning on being the only thing that contrasts from it. I also think it's a really nice touch having the record break over time to prevent the player from staying in the same spot. You have no idea how much dopamine I get anytime I see a main menu like this. It fits so well with the game's atmosphere and setting, which also perfectly complements the art style. The subtle distortion of the 3D meshes when you move the camera adds so much to it. It's also a really nice change of pace, having the game being in this narrow, claustrophobic maze rather than an open arena, making the player actually think where they want to go next, rather than just strafing left or right. You know, I didn't even know a huge chunk of this game's art was from an already existing asset pack until reading the description. The amount of custom art used to accompany the theme of the asset pack is such a good and efficient creative choice, and it's fascinating how seamlessly it blends together. And don't even get me started on how clean and polished the UI animations look. Just the movement of some of the text alone adds so much energy to the game. Sometime after I upload this video and a couple other stuff I want to work on, I'll probably get to work on adding the other 2 bosses on top of fixing most of the bugs and glitches in the game. I also want to add an actual tutorial rather than forcing people to read the description on the itch page. I'm still not sure whether I want to make it fully interactive or just show an image on the main menu. But now that I'm not actively crunching myself to hell and back over some random event on the internet, I have virtually all the time I could ever ask for to polish up, bug fix, and add more content to this little game about record players. You guys want to see my vinyl collection?